Hi, this is one of the RSB online videos, and we're talking to people in science. I'm Jo, and from Flatford Mill for the FSC. You might have seen me on one of the interviews already, and as you probably know, we're talking to people who work in science, and today I've got the lovely Rachel with me. So I'd like to introduce you, and she can tell you a bit about herself. Hi, Rachel.
Hi everyone, I'm Rachel. So I work for Natural England. I'm a great crested newt strategist, which is quite the title, and I'm based in London.
Wow, that is very exciting. So having a title of great crested newt strategist, is that your job? Is that, is that what you're doing day to day? So are you a consultant or in kind of planning? What do you do?
Yeah, so I'm a senior advisor at Natural England, and I work on district level licensing strategies. So it is in planning, and my job basically is to roll out a new reformed version of licensing for the planning system, so to allow developers to build. So I'm rolling that out across new areas of England. It's a really important kind of novel technique. It's never been done anywhere else. Wow. And it's never been done on any other species either. But basically it's because the great crested newt is a really important species. They're a European protected species. They're protected under our laws and European laws. And even though we have been protecting them, and there are quite onerous restrictions on developers to get a license if they want to disturb newts, need to disturb newts to build new houses, for example. They are still in decline. They've been declining over the last 60 years because we keep losing ponds, and our population in England is really important because they're actually quite common in England, even though they're in decline. We're seeing much lower numbers of great crested newts in the rest of Europe. So we've got an international responsibility here to look after them.
Yeah, well, and we've got to hold on to them if we've got some. So
I've been to Flatford Mill to see the newts. I did a course there. Yeah,
I was going to say, I'm fascinated by your job because at Flatford Mill we have got great crested newts, and I was incredibly excited when we found one. So have you always been, is it always been kind of a fascination with newts or that kind of thing, or how did you get into this? Where's your route into this job?
Yeah, so I've always been really into amphibian and reptiles. So when I was a teenager, one of the first kind of ecological experiences I had when I thought that I might be interested in studying ecology at university was to get in touch with the Lancashire Wildlife Trust. That's my local one, and I ended up working on a reintroduction programme for Merseyside sand lizards. So really exciting species of reptile. But I've actually taken a bit of a weird and wonderful route to get here, as I think a lot of people do. It takes a while to find your career and find what interests you, but I've done a whole bunch of things. So I did an integrated master's, one of the new integrated master's degrees. I did that in environmental biology, and then did a whole bunch of volunteering just to try and boost my CV and try and find something that interested me, because there's so many options available. Yeah. I worked in ecological consultancy for a bit, so got myself some experience of the traditional way of licensing for great crested newts and bats and other species. What else did I do? I went and worked for the FSC, Field Studies Council, did a bit of environmental education, because that's really what inspired me to go into ecology, actually, was a visit to a field studies centre. Did my PGCE and everything, became a qualified science teacher. Yeah. Then I kind of got a bit frustrated with the state of environmental policy in this country. So I decided, well, if I don't like it, I should probably go and change it. So I actually went and joined DEFRA first of all. I did an internship at DEFRA, and then I've ended up at Natural England, and I just saw this job on great crested newts. They're what I'm really interested in. Over the course of doing all these strange things that I've done, I've still been going out with local amphibian and reptile groups, doing newt surveys, and work towards my great crested newt survey license. And so yeah, it was a great opportunity to come to Natural England and do this job.
Yeah, and so I think sometimes as well, especially in ecology and things like that, it is quite hard to know even where you want to go and then how to get there. So doing a whole wide range of volunteering and joining loads of kind of associations and being parts of lots of different groups of conservation stuff is really important for young people, because it not only gets you to meet people and gets you to kind of have that experience, but it also helps you to work out what's interesting and what you find interesting. So that's really good advice. And I love the idea that it's a bit like a crusade. So it's like, I think that's not working, so I need to change it. So I need to get in there to try and change it. That's awesome. So what are you doing in a typical day? What's your kind of, average day at work like?
Yeah, so at the moment, we don't get out much. I'm home based at the moment. So I'm in central London. There aren't many great crested newts around. And a lot of my job at the moment is actually science communication and stakeholder engagement. Okay. So I speak to a lot of people. They might be planners, planning officers from local councils, ecologists from local councils, or it could be people from local record centres, or heads of amphibian and reptile groups. Yeah. A whole bunch of people. And I tell them why I think district level licensing, the new approach, is a really good thing for great crested newt conservation, and try to get them to come on board with Natural England to enter the scheme and allow developers in their area to use the kind of new approach to licensing. So it's a lot of communicating what we've done so far and the evidence base that we've already got. So today, for example, I just did a 2-hour stakeholder webinar to kind of go through a bit of a sales pitch, really, on the scheme, and the benefits that it can bring to developers and newts and local councils.
Skills, aren't they? Because that kind of communication skills and being able to almost lobby for what you believe in. In this case, it's what you're kind of selling to them as an environmentalist. So it's quite a transferable skill. So in terms of, if we're thinking not during lockdown, then if you weren't stuck inside, what kind of field work or practical techniques might you be using if you're out and about?
Yeah, so it's really exciting to kind of get the evidence base to underpin the scheme. We went out and we did a lot of great crested newt surveys. They've got to cover the whole of England. Wow. So we can extrapolate the data a little bit with really, that's a whole different side of science. Doing modelling with R and with GIS. But on the ground, what we did was we actually used a new-ish technique to survey for great crested newts. Sometimes traditionally you would go out and use bottle traps, which are literally just a 2-litre plastic bottle with the top cut off. You kind of invert it and make a funnel, and then the newt goes in, but it can't get out. Yeah. And we don't know why they go in, but we think it might be they chase food in there, or they just think it looks exciting. So they go in, you kind of leave them overnight. Newts are nocturnal, so they go in mostly overnight. And and then you have a look and see what you caught in the morning. We didn't do that. That would have taken a long time to do surveys like that. So we're really lucky that a kind of really exciting new way of surveying is called environmental DNA, eDNA surveys. And all you need to do is collect a sample of water. You actually collect multiple samples of water from different points in a pond. And then it's great because it doesn't disturb great crested newts much, and you can get results really quickly. And when you're covering like a really broad geographical area like the whole of England, it's so much quicker. And so that goes off to a lab, and then the scientists in the lab check that sample for great crested newt DNA. And the technique's kind of been designed for great crested newts, but we've got all of our samples still stored in the lab, because potentially we can go back and see what other species we've got there as well in the ponds. So it just offers a great opportunity to see all the different species that are in there.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it's just one of the bits of data that we collect.
Yeah, I absolutely love the idea that you can take a sample of water and you know that a great crested newt is somewhere in that water just from its DNA.
Yeah, and so it's usually gross things like if it's gone to the toilet in there, or if it's laid eggs in the pond.
But those are exactly the ways that you would tell. It's amazing. And actually, it's because I know a little bit about great crested newts, but not a huge amount. But I do know that they're very sensitive to disturbance. So actually, anything that you can do in order to sort of negate that a little bit is going to help help them and help your findings. So it's really good. It's a good use of sort of showing how technology can move on data collection and actually make it much more streamlined and really it's nice. So it all sounds fascinating, but if you had to choose one thing that was like your biggest achievement or your most exciting thing that's ever happened to you in your job or in your career, what would it be? What would be your sort of highlight?
I think what excites me about it is that it is a very new project, and we are only just starting to get the kind of monitoring data. So this approach to licensing, the developer pays for 25 years worth of to create a pond and to manage it, to clear a scrub and to monitor it for 25 years. And that's done with habitat delivery partners like wildlife trusts. So they do a lot of work on the ground for us. And we're only just starting to see the results of the first few years come in, and they're from pilot kind of projects in Kent and in Cheshire. And the colonisation rate of those ponds by great crested newts has far exceeded what we actually expected. Okay. And so that's brilliant to see that already it's having amazing conservation gains for great crested newts. And I guess a really exciting thing, which actually isn't related to great crested newts, is that it's kind of a side effect in Suffolk. There's been a pond that was dry, and using money from the scheme, a developer has paid money for us to be able to restore the pond, and we found a really exciting plant species in that pond now after it's been restored for about a year. We found a species of plant that hasn't been found in Norfolk and Suffolk for over 100 years.
Wow. And
it was just still there in the seed bank, and now that the pond's been restored and there's water in the pond again, it's just sprung back to life and kind of been brought back from the brink. And so it's amazing to see the kind of unintentional consequences, benefits of the scheme, which is just brilliant.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? Because everything is linked and you just don't know what's there until all of a sudden something might pop up. That's a great highlight. I love that. And it's totally, I know you said it wasn't really sort of linked to the Great Crested Newts, but it is, isn't it? It's just the knock-on effect, which is what ecology is about.
It's their habitat.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Okay, well, that's awesome. Thank you so much. It's been really lovely to talk to you, and hopefully everyone will now be fascinated by Great Crested Newts. Where can people go to find out more about Great Crested Newts if they just wanted to have a bit more information? Are there any kind of good websites or anything that they should look up?
Yeah, so I would point people towards the wildlife trusts, have a lot of good information about Great Crested Newts. If they want to know more about district level licensing, I mean, just Google it, just go on .gov.uk. There are a load of press releases that we've done on how the scheme's going. And then I guess for more information and how we can get involved in Great Crested Newt conservation, I would point people towards Frog Life, which is the amphibian charity, or their local amphibian and reptile group.
Brilliant. Yeah.
You can usually find them on Facebook.
Yes, yeah, I was going to say, you can normally find those groups. There's normally local like wildlife watch groups and things like that you can get involved with, and then you kind of meet people who know where to go or who to talk to.
Yeah.
That's been amazing, Rachel. Thank you so much. I hope everyone's enjoyed it, and there will be more interviews to come with more people. But for now, we'll say goodbye. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Bye, Rachel.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.